Hey friends, let's be honest. If you're over 50, there's a pretty good chance you've got at least one of these bottles sitting in your kitchen cabinet. Vitamin K2, magnesium, or vitamin D3. These three supplements are everywhere. Doctors recommend them, YouTube videos hype them up, and health bloggers swear by them. But here's the thing. While they are important, most people don't actually understand what they do in the body, how they work together, or the hidden traps that can show up if you take them blindly. So before we even talk about cycling or stopping or anything like that, let's start simple. What are these three supplements? Why do people take them? And what does the science say about their safety? Vitamin K2, the traffic officer for calcium. Let's start with one of the most underrated nutrients out there, vitamin K2. If I had to explain K2 in the simplest way possible, I'd say K2 is like the traffic officer in your body. Its job is to make sure calcium goes to the right places. That means into your bones and teeth where you want it, and not into your arteries, kidneys, or other soft tissues where it can cause major problems. Now here's why that matters. Most people over 50 are worried about two big things: weak bones, osteoporosis, and blocked arteries, heart disease. Calcium is supposed to protect your bones, but if it ends up in your arteries instead, you get the worst of both worlds: brittle bones and clogged blood vessels. That's where K2 steps in. It activates proteins that literally escort calcium into your bones and out of the wrong areas. Sounds important, right? Here's the catch. Most of us are deficient in K2. Unlike vitamin K1, which you find in leafy greens, K2 is only found in a few rare foods like certain cheeses, animal products, and a Japanese dish called natto, fermented soybeans. Unless you're eating natto every week, you're probably not getting enough. That's why so many people over 50 add a K2 supplement. The good news? K2 is considered very safe, even for long-term use. Most research shows daily doses between 90 and 200 micrograms are both effective and well tolerated. Quick caution. If you're on blood thinners like warfarin, K2 can interfere with how they work. That doesn't mean you can't take it, but it does mean you need to work closely with your doctor and monitor your blood levels very carefully. Now let's move on to the mineral that half of adults over 50 are missing out on: magnesium. If your body were a car, magnesium would be the spark plug. It's involved in over 300 reactions in the body. That includes energy production, muscle contraction and relaxation, nerve signaling, blood sugar control, heart rhythm regulation, and sleep quality. Without enough magnesium, your body's like a car running without oil. It still works, but things start breaking down sooner or later. Here's the kicker. Studies suggest that up to 50% of adults are deficient. Why? Our soil has been stripped of minerals, processed foods have taken over our diets, and high-carb eating actually makes the body dump magnesium faster. Add stress on top of that, and you've got the perfect recipe for deficiency. What does magnesium deficiency feel like? Well, you might recognize some of these signs: restless nights and trouble falling asleep, nighttime leg cramps or twitches, a racing or pounding heart, anxiety or unexplained irritability, constant fatigue even after rest. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Now, here's the good news. Magnesium is generally safe for daily use, especially if you have healthy kidneys. It's water-soluble, so your body flushes out excess in your urine. But, and this is important, the form of magnesium you choose matters a lot.
Magnesium oxide, cheap but poorly absorbed and often causes diarrhea. Magnesium citrate, malate, or glycinate, much better absorbed, with glycinate being the gentlest on the stomach. Most adults do well with 300 to 400 milligrams daily, though some people need more depending on diet and stress. If you eat a lot of leafy greens, nuts, avocados, and seeds, you might get by with less. But for many people, supplementation makes a huge difference. Quick caution. If you have kidney disease, magnesium can build up in your body and cause problems. In that case, supplementation should only be done under medical supervision. Vitamin D3, the sunshine hormone. Finally, let's talk about the superstar of the supplement world, vitamin D3. Most people call it a vitamin, but the truth is, D3 acts more like a hormone in your body. It influences thousands of processes, from bone strength to immune function, cardiovascular health, and even mood regulation. Low D has been linked to weaker bones, higher risk of infections, depression, poor cardiovascular health, even increased risk of certain cancers. No wonder so many doctors recommend it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Unlike magnesium, which your body uses and flushes daily, D3 is fat soluble. That means it gets stored in your fat tissue and liver. So instead of leaving your system quickly, it can stick around for weeks or even months. This is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it means you don't need to take D3 every single day to maintain healthy levels. On the other hand, it means you can overdose if you're not careful. Most people feel safe taking 1,000 to 2,000 IUs daily, especially if they don't get much sun. But many supplements on the market come in doses of 5,000 IUs or more. If you're taking that daily for months, your blood levels can creep up too high, and that's when problems start. Things like high calcium levels, kidney strain, or even heart rhythm issues. So while D3 is incredibly important, it also requires monitoring. The best way to know your status is with a simple blood test measuring 25-hydroxy vitamin D. Optimal levels are generally considered between 30 and 50 nanograms per milliliter, though some experts prefer slightly higher. Quick caution: if you're already getting plenty of sunshine, say 15 to 30 minutes a few times a week, you may not need as much supplementation as you think. How they work together. Now, before we wrap up this section, let me share something really important. These three supplements are deeply connected. D3 boosts your calcium absorption. K2 makes sure that calcium actually goes into your bones instead of your arteries. And magnesium helps activate vitamin D and keeps everything running smoothly. That's why people often call K2 and D3 the power couple, with magnesium acting like the supportive best friend that makes the relationship work. If you're missing one piece of this puzzle, the others can't do their jobs properly. Quick recap. So in this first section, we've laid the foundation. K2 is the traffic officer for calcium, guiding it into the right places. Magnesium is the spark plug, running hundreds of essential processes in your body. And D3 is the sunshine hormone that regulates immunity, bone strength, and more, but needs careful monitoring. And together, they form a powerful trio for health, especially as we age. Now that you know what these supplements do and why people take them, we're ready to move into the next big question. Should you take them non-stop, or do you need to cycle them? That's what we'll dive into in Section 2.
All right, now that we've covered what K2, magnesium, and D3 actually do in your body, let's ask the question nobody really talks about. Should you take them every single day forever, or should you give your body a break? This is where the idea of supplement cycling comes in. What does cycling mean? Think of cycling as giving your body the same rhythm you'd use for exercise. You wouldn't do heavy squats 7 days a week without rest, right? You'd burn out, maybe even get injured. Instead, you train, then you rest, then you train again. Supplements can work the same way. Cycling simply means take them for a period of time, pause for a while to let your body reset, and start again if needed. It's not about quitting. It's about balance. Why cycling makes sense. 3 big reasons. Reason 1, your body adapts. The human body is incredibly smart. When you give it the same thing every single day, it often adjusts and stops responding as strongly. Think about your first cup of coffee ever. It probably made you feel amazing. Fast forward a year later, and 1 cup barely makes a dent. That's adaptation. Supplements can lose their punch the same way. By taking breaks, you can keep your body responsive and avoid the plateau effect. Reason 2, hormones need balance. Some supplements don't just deliver nutrients, they actually affect hormones. Vitamin D3, for example, works more like a hormone than a vitamin. Magnesium impacts melatonin, which affects your sleep cycle. If you flood your system nonstop, your body can become dependent, forgetting how to regulate those processes naturally. Cycling keeps your natural rhythm intact. Reason 3. Side effects sneak up on you. This one's big. Most side effects from supplements don't show up on day 1. They build gradually. Maybe you start having stomach issues, diarrhea from magnesium oxide, or constipation from too much D3. Maybe your heart starts beating irregularly. Maybe you feel more anxious, not less. The scary part, many people chalk it up to aging or stress, never realizing their supplement routine is the culprit. Taking breaks allows your body to reset and often clears those symptoms. Now here's where it gets interesting. Not all supplements need cycling in the same way. Magnesium is water-soluble. Your body uses what it needs and flushes the rest. That means for most healthy adults with normal kidney function, magnesium really doesn't build up. In fact, many people find they feel worse within days of stopping it. Poor sleep, cramps, fatigue. For magnesium, cycling usually isn't necessary, but adjusting the dose is. K2 is fat-soluble, but research shows it's pretty safe for long-term use, even daily. Since most of us are deficient anyway, cycling K2 isn't usually a concern. Unless you're on blood thinners, in which case your doctor needs to be involved. Vitamin D3, though, is the tricky one. Because it's stored in fat and liver, it can accumulate over weeks and months. That's why cycling D3, or at least monitoring and adjusting, is smart. It's the supplement most likely to cause problems if you just keep piling it on. So in simple terms, magnesium equals daily, usually safe. K2 equals daily, safe for most people. D3 is the one you really need to watch. Too much can quietly build up and cause problems. How to know when it's time to cycle off. Okay, so how do you know when it's time to cycle off? Your body often gives clues, but you have to listen. Some common signs that it's time for a reset include feeling unusually fatigued even though you're taking vitamins for energy. Digestive issues, either diarrhea, often from magnesium oxide, or constipation from too much D3. Poor sleep patterns that don't improve or actually get worse. Strange heart rhythms, too fast, too slow, or irregular. A vague sense of something's off, even though your routine hasn't changed. When those signs show up, it's your body whispering, hey, let's hit pause for a while. A practical approach to cycling. Here's a friendly, no-nonsense way to think about cycling. 1. Check your blood work, especially for D3. If your vitamin D levels are already optimal, consider lowering your dose or taking breaks. 2. Pause when side effects appear. If you suddenly can't sleep, your stomach is a mess, or your heart feels strange, take a 1 to 2 week break and reassess. 3. Experiment with timing. Some people take magnesium at night for sleep, but if it keeps you too alert, try mornings. Some take D3 daily, but feel better every other day. Cycling doesn't have to mean months off. It can be as simple as adjusting frequency. And last, listen to your body. At the end of the day, your body is smarter than any bottle label. If something feels wrong, don't ignore it. Why this matters even more after 50. For younger people, the body often bounces back quickly from overload. But after 50, things shift. Kidneys may not flush excess minerals as efficiently. Liver may take longer to process fat-soluble vitamins like D3. Interactions with medications become more likely. That's why supplement cycling isn't just a trendy idea. It's a safety net, especially as you get older. Quick recap. So here's the big picture. Cycling means taking breaks so your body doesn't adapt, overload, or burn out. Magnesium usually doesn't need cycling, but does need the right dose and form. K2 is safe daily unless you're on blood thinners. D3 is the one you really need to watch. Too much can quietly build up and cause problems. The best way to know when to cycle? Listen to your body and check your blood levels. Now that you understand the why behind cycling, we're ready to zoom in on the most important supplement of the 3, vitamin D3. In the next section, I'll show you why it's different, what warning signs to watch for, and how to use it safely without overdoing it.
Section 3. The problem with vitamin D3. Let's talk about vitamin D3. This one deserves its own section because unlike K2 and magnesium, D3 is both incredibly powerful and potentially tricky if you don't understand how it works. A lot of people pop this supplement daily without ever stopping to ask a simple question. Am I actually taking too much? See, D3 isn't just a regular vitamin. It works more like a hormone inside your body. It controls how your immune system responds, how your bones absorb calcium, how your heart functions, even how your mood swings from day to day. This is why so many people over 50 have been told, you need more vitamin D. And that's true. Many adults are deficient. But here's the catch. Unlike magnesium, which your body flushes out in urine every single day, vitamin D3 is fat soluble. That means it gets stored inside your fat tissue in your liver. Once it's in, it stays there. Not for hours, not for days, but for weeks and even months. This is why daily dosing without checking your levels can become a hidden danger. Let me give you an example. Imagine filling a water tank. Every day you pour in 1 extra cup. At first, no problem. The tank isn't full yet. But over time, those cups add up. Eventually, the tank overflows. Now imagine that overflow happening inside your body, not as water, but as calcium building up in your blood and tissues. That's what happens when vitamin D gets too high. Why people over 50 need to be extra careful. If you're over 50, your body doesn't process vitamin D the same way it used to. Your skin is less efficient at converting sunlight into D3. That's why doctors often recommend supplements. But here's what they rarely mention. Your kidneys also become less efficient at clearing excess calcium, which vitamin D raises. This combination makes seniors much more vulnerable to toxicity. Think about it. You're taking D3 for bone strength, but if your calcium levels get too high, the exact opposite happens. You end up with brittle bones, stiff joints, or worse, calcified arteries. That's like fixing a leaky roof only to flood the entire house. Warning signs of too much D3. So how do you know if your tank is overflowing? The tricky part is the symptoms don't show up like a sudden alarm. They creep in slowly. Constant fatigue. You think it's just aging or stress, but it could be your liver struggling with too much D3. Digestive issues. 1 week diarrhea, the next week constipation. People blame food, but often it's the vitamin itself. Sleep problems. You took magnesium to sleep better, but now you're wide awake at 3 a.m. High D3 can throw off your circadian rhythm. Heart palpitations. That scary moment when your heart beats fast or skips. Often it's calcium being pushed too high by D3. That gut feeling that something's off? Hard to explain, but if you feel worse despite taking more supplements, that's your body talking. If you've noticed any of these signs, don't ignore them. They could be your body's way of saying, I've had enough. Why cycling D3 is different. Here's where cycling comes in. Magnesium? You don't need to cycle because your body flushes it out daily. K2? Rarely a problem because it's safe long term. But D3? Totally different. Since it lingers in your body for weeks, taking it nonstop can push your levels way beyond what's healthy. Studies have shown that even if you stop D3, your blood levels remain elevated for weeks. So if you're already at the upper range, pausing is not just safe, it's smart. Think of it like coffee. At first, 1 cup keeps you alert all day, but drink it nonstop, and suddenly 3 cups can't even keep your eyes open. That's your body adapting. Supplements are the same. Without breaks, the benefits fade and the risks grow. How to cycle D3 safely? Here are some practical tips. 1. Get your blood tested. This is the golden rule. If your 25-hydroxy vitamin D levels are consistently above 50 nanograms per milliliter, it's time to reduce or pause. 2. Lower the dose. Instead of 5,000 IU every day, switch to 1,000 or 2,000, or even every other day. Studies show this still keeps levels healthy. 3. Take seasonal breaks. If you're in a sunny climate and get 20 minutes of midday sun, you may not even need supplements in summer. Use them mainly in winter. 4. Pair it wisely. D3 works best with magnesium and K2. Without them, you're basically loading calcium into your bloodstream without a traffic officer to direct it. A real-life scenario. Picture two people. Sarah, 62, takes 5,000 IU of D3 every day without testing. She feels fine for a year, but then she notices her joints ache, her heart races at night, and she's constantly tired. She thinks it's just menopause or aging, but in reality, her D3 levels are too high, and calcium is building up where it doesn't belong. Now meet David, 65. He also takes D3, but he checks his levels every 6 months. When his numbers go above 55 nanograms per milliliter, he pauses for a month and lowers his dose. He pairs it with magnesium and K2. Result? Strong bones, steady energy, no strange symptoms. Same vitamin, two very different outcomes. Final thoughts and strong call to action. So here's the bottom line. Vitamin D3 is powerful. It can protect your bones, boost your mood, and strengthen your immune system. But too much of a good thing turns into a bad thing fast, especially after 50. That's why cycling D3 is not optional, it's essential. Now, I want to hear from you. How long have you been taking vitamin D3? Do you test your levels, or are you just taking it every day because someone told you to? Drop your answers in the comments. I read every single one. And if you found this helpful, hit that like button so YouTube shows this video to more people who need it. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell, because in my next video, I'm breaking down the 5 warning signs your supplements are working against you, not for you. Remember, supplements are like spices. Just enough makes the dish perfect. Too much ruins the flavor. Be smart, listen to your body, and give yourself the gift of balance.